Hi, my name's Andy and this is my channel Modeloco for all things model railway, and there really never has been a better time to get into model railways than right here, right now. And we're going back to absolute basics to get you on the right track from the get-go. Let's begin. And today, going from being a mere model railway enthusiast to taking the first tentative steps into what they call in the business becoming a real modeler. And yes, we're using the UK's favourite scale to look at this, 00.
Casey Jones, steaming and a-rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear a tooting of the whistle, it's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.
You've got your train, you've got your layout. Now, it's funny how one thing can lead to another. When it was Flying Scotsman Centenary, I went to the Keithlet and Worth Valley Railway and tracked it down and had a ride on it. And this cropped up on Hornby's website. Limited edition. There were no figures in it, no lights in it. But later on, I got these, and these do come with lights inside. Once you pull the paper strip out from under here, the battery ignites. You can put these walking boards in these as well, but I haven't. And I got a third class, and I got a first class. You can turn the lights on and off. If I turn these lights down with this magnet, yeah. And I think these coaches have inspired a lot of today's models, and they also inspired me. Why? Well, I had these two with lights in and this without. Now, when I thought about adding passengers, I thought, well, I might as well put the light bar in as well. And I bought the Maglite unit for it. £13 I got this for. That was from Burr Valley Models. I still think they're £13 now, if you can get hold of one. So you're not breaking the bank, but as I said, it's not railroad. It is a fully fledged model. And for me, that's the way I want to go. If I'd have bought railroad in the past, I would have only been disappointed and then would have had to try and sell it. They're harder to sell because they don't hold the value as much, and I would have had to buy again. I didn't want to do that. There are two sorts of Maglites on offer from Hornby. Now, these are for Mark III coaches, but they do fit other coaches as well. But as I said before, all things can lead to another. Like seeing a loco running every day, you end up liking it, falling in love with it and buying the model. But anyway, that being said, so I got this Maglite for this unit to put in. And it went away on the shelf for ages until I thought, right, if I'm going to fit lights to my other models, I might as well start with this one. And that's what I did. I added the Maglite and figures at the same time. Now, I got the figures cheap, Kite Lights and Amazon. You can get, I think, 60 painted figures on Amazon for about under a tenner. I got those and fit the light bar. And that was a really easy way in because it forced me into action. And once you've stripped one down, then you can move on. You might want to practice on your railroad model, but is it worth putting lights in a railroad model if the seating's not very good, if you can't really fit figures in, if the actual unit itself doesn't come apart? These have got NEM sockets on, for instance. So I can put the Hornby magnetic coupling on. So I got into that, yeah? And I found that the one that fit is the vacuum pipe 17mm. The Buckeye 17mm didn't fit round second radiuses on this, but that one does. That's the R7400, and that's what I've put in these, which are great. So I've got into magnetic coupling, which is a lot easier. I learned a lot more about couplings, and I've learned how to strip a carriage down. I've got the confidence then to go on to bigger and greater things. So yeah, you want the right Maglite. These will fit all sorts of things. Sometimes people say, oh, they're a bit short, it don't go all the way down the carriage, but I've never had any issues. And they light for 200 hours before you need to change the battery. Some of Hornby's Mark III coaches have a battery box on the bottom you can get to, but they're so easy once you get into these things to clip on and off. So today what I'm doing is I've bought another Maglite. We'll put those on their side. They look fabulous. 200 hours. How long do you run your layout for in any one go? I probably do an hour before it's time to make dinner or time to do whatever. I've got one here still boxed, and that's the brake van. £32. There is one other brake, a full brake that I haven't got in this collection. They've got some nice window vents in the back. And I think for a beginner, and when I say a beginner, maybe you've been on model rail for ages, yeah? But you've never had the confidence to break out. Let's get the light back on. And fit lights, fit figures. This could be the perfect opportunity to do that. This is the R40416. You can pick these up still. Shop round. There's a leaflet here. So like I said, you can fit these running boards underneath. Easy to get out. NEM sockets so you can put your magnetic couplings in. You're getting used to looking at what makes a railway run smoother and look better when you start to add these things, if that's what you want. So you've got a manual here. It's very straightforward, easy to get hold of. So first of all, we can just pull them out like that. They pull out. That's it. Some are a bit stiff. You can practice with your magnetic couplings. I've only got a couple left. I've been fitting that many. I love these. Once you start getting these in, I've had better running. I've had better fun setting up. It's not taking as long to build, uncouple a rake, and they just push in with the vacuum bit going downward. It's as simple as that. And then they just all clip together. And of course, I've got one that goes to the tender of the locomotive with still a tension lock coupling in. So yeah, got it. How easy is that? We can fit the running boards, but still with no lights. Now, these two came with lights in, so they make you lazy, but you can't really get hold of them, I don't think, as much now. If you can get them with lights in and you're saving money, why not? Because you've got your £32 here, and you've got your £13 for your mag light. Then what you're going to need are some very fine nylon plectrums like these. Now, I use Dunlop, either 0.38 millimeters or 0.46, but 3/8, nice and soft. They're not going to damage the loco too much. In fact, they shouldn't damage it at all. But even if you were to damage this one, then you're not at least handling something a lot more fragile. Now, it is a full spec model, but they're nice and hardy. You know, they'll stand a little bit of rough and tumble. Some models, you start going into them and they start falling in bits straight away. So all you do is get your plectrum under there like I've done. Just slide it down and it starts to come away, look. Some older coaches too, yeah, they are very susceptible to cracking, and the little tabs that hold these on are susceptible to breaking. And you don't want that. These are modern, it's modern plastic, and they come in bits very easily. And then you pull your seating compartment out, and we can see inside we've got our brake end, so that always goes to this end. We can get the plectrums out of the way. They can go out of the way as well. We haven't put the running boards on yet, but we will do. We've got our little drawing with us, so we can't really go wrong. You've got me on board too, and I'm showing you firsthand how we do it. And then we can go into here, and it doesn't matter if we break this box. You'll see I used a rule to get in this box so we don't damage the box if you ever want to sell it on. A steel rule stops the box getting damaged. And look, it's all set out for you. You've even got your mag light instructions here of how it all goes in, and it shows this very coach. Yeah, I've got the brake van, but you know, they're all the same. Then you get a magnet. I've got quite a collection of these. And you sometimes think, well, it'd be nice if Hornby sold them a bit cheaper without the magnet. Knock a couple of quid off, but hey ho. For those of us who've got loads. In this little bag, all resealable now. And this comes with a very small screw. This is why I've got my magnetic tray, yeah? So that can just plop out. You don't want that near the magnet, but that just holds that. And they're about $2.99. Parkside, Lidl. Brilliant. This has a battery compartment, a peel-off strip, which is already started peeling off. I've not seen that before, but it's stuck back on now. Yep, okay. So it's got a latching reed switch, a battery holder, and some LEDs. Very fragile, but if you're gentle, you're not going to break, and there's no soldering to do. So that's got a plus on. This battery is like what they put in key fobs. They last for ages, as we said. And you put the plus to the plus and just push it in. That's the battery in, because this isn't fitted. If you've got a fitted one, you pull a paper tab out from the coach. But we're learning how to fit lights and figures and things like that, yeah? And then when you put the magnet, you just test it, and there's your LED. Magic. You're learning how to do these things for yourself. What should I put this in? Well, you'll realise that you need something just to hold it. The more delicate your model, like this has got some fine wiring, but it's quite hardy. You want it in a cradle, something soft. And then this goes in to the model. Now, I always try and put my bits and pieces towards the back, but it is showing this one towards the front because there's a little recess here for the wire to run down the back. If I put it in this side, you might see the wire dangling down, and we don't want that. So for this one, we're going to put it near to the rear. Peel this paper backing off like so, and there's two small lines, so you can see it goes between those lines and between those little bits there. Yeah, line it up and put it in. Sometimes you've got to cut them, but this one you don't need to cut. If they're too big, they can be cut, and they're in the instructions. We've lined that between there. We're lining that between there. Running down with our fingers. And boom, boom, shake, shake the room. I'm going to go steady away at first. Hopefully, it'll end up something like that. Then you can see that there's 2 points here for the screw. So you could put it in at either end, should you so wish. But that is the guard end, so that's where this bit's going to go. And you can sort of see from the instructions where the battery is going to sit, the battery compartment. We can put this back in our cradle. We can turn this up. I always put it sort of this way around, so the electronics are facing the roof, and then the wires face to the back of the carriage, as it were. Hold that down over there, and then we want to get our screw, and that is where you're going to need a set of jeweler screwdrivers. You can pick these up on eBay really, really cheap, this sort. Now, I've got this one here, again from Lidl, Parkside, $6.99. Yeah, let me show you this. Look at that lot. If you want to get into your mobile phone, anything. And look, comes with a magnetic roof. Fabulous, isn't it? You don't need to be spending the earth. Now, that screw doesn't fit in that head. I could take another one out of there, but I've got a smaller one here. So I'm going to use that. These are cheap as well. Again, that one doesn't fit. So we can go down to this one. And you just offer it in. Now, that one does. That's from a cheap set. Now, I'm sure there's one in my Parkside set that fits. But once it sits in there and it's not arguing, so you're not going to strip it, you can offer that then down. And this is magnetic, so it just holds the screw. I'm just going to get my hand in there. Sorry, you probably won't be able to see, and neither can I. But that's it, into the light. You want 2 lights above your bench. One thing you're watching is this glass tube here. This glass tube, if it gets fractured, the latching reed switch will not work. So on no accounts, knock that, bash it, or put it under any duress. Don't put any weight on it or anything like that. Keep that screw going in. I'm just going to unslacken it again, just to position it square on. It's between the LEDs, so it's not robbing any light. Very well thought out, look, isn't it? Line those up with the wires, hopefully, and we can just put those seats back in. Right? At this point, we can fit some figures. And it just so happens I have a few odd ones left from my encounter with all the coaches that I've been fitting figures in. Ironically, they've all just come through the post. Another batch to do some more coaches with. $7.99 and plus a discount when you buy 2 or 3 bags at once. They just take a few days to come. So if you need them quicker, kite lights are excellent as well. Some of these that come in these cheap packs will double up as engine drivers, yeah? He ain't going to pass as an engine driver. He's got a walking stick and a top hat. So, and some of them are a little bit obese, but he'd make a good engine driver as well. His hand is going over to the right sort of area. So I'm a little bit reluctant to use those up. So I'm just going to put a few of these fellas in. And I think somewhere I did have some more. Let me have a look. Can't find them now. But I had some ones that are a little bit big as well. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So if you've got some figures, you want them beforehand. It's learning you to plan a little bit more. You might want a standing figure in there. But will you see it? You can test it before you build it back up just to see. And that lights the coach up really well. So yeah, I just want a few sitting figures, and I want to make sure that that wire on the top of here is tucked well away out of sight into the roof and down the center. Another good thing to go and get, and you can get this on eBay or at different retailers, and I bought meter length. I think comes in all shapes and sizes, but you want more than 100 millimeters. Don't go get 100 millimeters. If you're putting quite a few figures in, you soon use this stuff up. So you might as well spend, £3 and get a good length, yeah? And then you just ball a little bit of that up, and I make some balls and just put them on my modelling mat. That's another thing you might want, a modelling mat or a surface to work on. And then we can just press that into the corner of the model. Now, you might want to use a flat-bladed screwdriver. You're not pushing through the wires. You just want to hold them. Now, be careful not to break the wire cable, because it's only thin wire, but it's still good quality. It's good quality stuff. Hornby don't shrimp on their quality, I've found. They're very good at that. And that's why I've always stood by them. What Hornby do, some very heavy lifting for the rest of the model world. And I think sometimes it's very much underappreciated, and they make some great models. And a lot of people put Hornby down, call it Hornby bashing. I think a lot of it is very much unjustified. And I think some of it is to put people off the scent of Hornby, whatever reason, to buy it elsewhere maybe. And you've got to watch influencers that push constantly people away from certain products and certain brands. Now, Hornby don't do everything right. They all make mistakes, and they've got great customer services. Just, that's off the mould, so we can get rid of that. And then that just pushes down into the framework. You could put another bit of black tack on there to hold it, and then to take it out, it's as simple as that. You're actually doing some real modelling here. You're fitting lights, you're fitting figures, you're getting up there. I use black tack, and I stick that on the bums of my figures. Maybe sometimes just rolling up the back of them as well, just so they sit in place. And these don't need the legs chopping off. Some figures do need their legs taking off. Got one figure in, you're keeping him away from the edge. So this rather portly gentleman can sit over here. You'll learn, how much black tack to apply. If you apply too much, then it can be seen. We haven't any ladies left in this carriage, but we have got gents. You see here, that's where the battery compartment is, so there's no floor. So you might want to put a man in this way. Now, that's a brake van. This always goes at the back of the train or right at the front of the train if they're to-ing and fro-ing. The coach will always usually travel that way. So most of the figures will face this way. So I'm going to face this guy this way too. Okay? You need to chop the legs off if you want to put a figure midway in, and I do. You can use, if you haven't got anything else, a pair of scissors because they're only soft, or you can use a pair of pliers. Yeah, or if you've got some Zuron track pliers, even better. They're for cutting soft things like nickel silver rails, nothing hard. I always say that to everybody. You'll pay a little bit of money for them, but Hornby do a beginner's set with these sort of things in. So these are Zuron, these are the real McCoy, and I get the ones with the angled end. There's a couple of models, but these are fine, absolutely fine. But you don't want to be cutting anything hard like point motor stems. You don't want to be cutting those sort of things because it will ruin those. Black tack on him. So he can go in the middle. And can we afford one more guy? They're all a bit grey and boring looking, aren't they, these fellas? But at least we've got some in there. This time I'm going to use my Zuron track snippers because you'll see how easy it is to snip them off. That's if I'm going to put him in the middle. I've just thought about it and thought, no, we won't do that. What we'll do is put him, diddly-dee, diddly-da. I'm going to put him at this side. Yeah, I'm going to put him at this side. You're learning all the time. It takes a while for it to sink in. And then either give it a blow, make sure you haven't got any hairs and bits on here. I carry like a Specsavers, lens cleaner, and I can just wipe the insides, just get any smudges off there that you might have got off your fingers with handling black tack. Got a few figures in there that are just going to populate that nicely. Remember to get it the right way in. What we've got is enough people in there to make it look all right. Still waiting for some more to come. The Amazon ones, I think, come from China, so they take quite a while to get here, but once they're here, Bob's your uncle. Yeah, and this will go in any way around, and then you can put a little bit of black tack if you want in there just to hold it. And then all we do is offer that back up to this. And it's pretty uniform. I'm not sure which way around it's meant to go, but I don't think it really matters. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And you have now become a modeler. Line it up, look down this end, look down this end, look down here, turn it round before you just clip it back into place. Figures, lights, magnetic couplings, and last but not least, why do we have a look at the running boards? Why not? Cleanliness is next to godliness. My cookery teacher used to say, and us lads used to hate doing cookery, but we loved it really because we used to love eating all the cakes afterwards. Depends how good a cook you are, I guess. How good the ingredients are that your mum gave. Just line up to the holes. When I first did this, found it quite taxing. And now, it's as easy as pie. Look, and they just push in. Very well made. And there's these running boards in each pack, but if you don't use them, you can put them in your box, put them away, and think about putting them on at a different date. But I actually like these. I didn't like these at first. Things grow on you. I've bought a locomotive. I won't tell you which one, purely because it passes me by when I'm out cycling. And then you start looking at the coaches or carriages and think, I like those as well. Now, don't worry if they don't always go completely in. You can do your best. That one's gone right in. They don't always. And that is it. We have got one brake van to go with the rest of our units. So this, again, will go at the end of the rake because it's a brake van. And then you probably have your third compartment. Now, that's another thing as well. Once you've given it a little wipe down, just watch your handles. You're learning to be careful. You're learning to be tactile with things. Lovely little vents there to look out of. Lovely little addition. Lovely paint job. So we don't need that one. So we can pull that one out and put it in there. Because if you're at the end of the rake, that's a brake van. You're not going to have anything after that brake van. You're learning about carriage stock. You're learning about what goes with what. And you get quite a nice close coupling, where when you're using these sort of couplings, they can be a lot further apart and they can be a pain to get uncoupled when you're leaning over a layout. You're learning all these little tricks of the trade, and then you'll go to your first compartment, and then Flying Scotsman, first compartment, up here, the special. And when they get all in a rake like that, they look superb, yeah? This one populated, this one not populated, and this one populated. You can see they look a lot better. Your eye starts to get drawn into the finer details, and you can light them as and when you want. If you're really good, you can do them both at the same time. But there we go. And that's a beginner's guide. Now, look at that one. This one, I have noticed the brake van is just a little bit, the tangs on here just need springing open a bit. Now, this is why I like these. They're made not out of 3D printing. They're manufactured. They're molded. So these tangs don't break off as easily. And that just allows to get a little bit better fit if you've got a slack NEM pocket. That's what that's called. That's an NEM prong that we just opened up. That's the pocket or socket. And then that fits in there with a little V. If you want to take these out, you can do. You just get a little screwdriver underneath and they just prong out. So you're getting that under there like that. And they just are teased out. You don't want to be breaking them. They're very fragile. A little bevel, this end, that goes down to the bottom. Then if there's any bits of dust in the bottom, this V is a transition fit, means nice push fit into there. And it goes right to the bottom, so it's flush. And then all your couplings are at the same height, the same type. And maybe if you're going round radius 1s, these won't be any good. My tightest bend on my layout, radius 2, I will not go any tighter than radius 2. You might not have the space that I have. So we're all at different stages. We're all at different stages of life as well. And sometimes we've got more disposable income. Sometimes the only way to go is railroad, or maybe you could buy decent second hand, but you need to know the retailer or the seller really, or look at his selling record before you go ahead and buy something that could be not very good. So there's my little tray. That comes in handy. That can go back out of sight. If I ever sell it, keep your box safe. I'm going to put the running boards on my others now. And I've got a good little rake of coaches. Top quality, fully up to date. All coaches are starting to get lights now. And of course, the other thing about having battery lights is there's no flicker. Now, the Coronation coaches that I showed you, more expensive. They've got capacitors in. Thank you to Richard S. for reminding me of that when I called them resistors. So this simply means that if they run over a bit of dirty track or bad point work, those lights won't flicker either. And these don't require batteries. In fact, some manufacturers are now bringing in magnetic sort of latching reed switches as well, so you can turn them on and off individually like you can these. But it all adds money, and they've got magnetic roofing as well, so you can take it straight off and add your passengers. You can go that way if you want, but this is a great way, as I said, to get into actual modelling, learning to strip things down. I think this has been a very simple way. I think these coaches led the latest coaches that are coming out, and as I've said before, I think Hornby do a lot of heavy lifting in the early days that others follow later on. Quick run round up in Lofthouse and out of the Mac Cave onto the track. I like to do this at the end of most videos. I'm all up and running now, as you can see. We can just turn them on and off as we wish. Little reed switches. They're easy to put on the track, and you can run them with anything really. They're so small and light and very free running, despite some negative influences saying they weren't early on. I don't know where that came from. I've done a little review on the one at the front of the rake, which is the Flying Scotsman Centenary Edition. Right, I'm going to give these a quick run round Lofthouse with a KWVR2 MT. It is my favourite small steam locomotive. I absolutely adore this little thing. Thank you. and we'll just hook them all up. You can see how quickly they'll go together with magnetic couplings. Straight in, boom, boom, boom. Yep.
Well, that just about wraps it up from me here at Modeloco. Don't forget to join the Modeloco Hub and the journey with me and everything Model Railway. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy modelling, stay on track, and make the most out of this amazing hobby. Now I'm going to get the next train.
The four-wheel coaches. A good way to start your modelling basics, I'd say.
So long for now, we'll be seeing you when Casey comes rolling by again with a steaming porter and a smoking stack, and the wheels are striking thunder on the railroad track. There'll be Casey Jr. and the Red Rock too, Wally Sanders and the rest of the crew in a thrilling adventure that's a lot of fun when Casey takes the throttle for another run. Casey Jones, steaming and a rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess when you hear a tooting of the whistle. It's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express. Casey Jones, steaming and a rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess when you hear a tooting of the whistle. It's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.